What's up, everybody? It's Coach GC. I want to welcome you to a very happy new year. I am so glad that you're joining me today for our first Final Focus series in 2025. We are so excited to be here with you all. I hope you all had a safe holiday season. Today's episode, I'm excited to bring on somewhat of a rebel rouser, someone who is kind of disrupting the legal industry, because that is exactly what we are here to do, right? Keep our profession a profession, but also make our profession something that we can enjoy, something that's sustainable. So I am going to be bringing on attorney Whitney Harper. Whitney and her business partners, Gwen and Sarah, are rewiring the legal profession, Advos Legal and Advos Pro. They are on a mission to help lawyers build a practice that they love and one that loves them back. They call it Promance. So I'm so excited. After this short little break, I'm going to bring her onto the stage and hopefully we can have a great discussion about all things Advos and Advos Pro. All right. Look forward to seeing y'all. What's going on, counselor? How are
Hey,
you?
hey, I'm so good. How are you?
I am tired. Jet lag from flying 24 hours in the air, 500 miles an hour across the globe, back to Jakarta, Indonesia from the States. But what's going on with you? How are you?
I love it. Well, I think it's amazing that we are in a time and place where you really can practice from anywhere. You can do amazing work from amazing places and, fill your cup while you're getting it done. So kudos to you. I love that. It's
You
amazing.
talk about practice, so let's dive right in. And can you tell me a little bit more about your general practice of law?
Yeah, for sure. Eh, I will start with kind of the beginning of the career because I think it helps you understand where we landed. Um, I started in kind of a big regional firm and was doing some litigation and some corporate counsel around employment stuff. And pretty quickly, I was billing by the hour and in a very traditional model, and pretty quickly went in-house. And when you're an in-house lawyer, you have this whole different concept of what it is to lawyer. And it starts with nobody cares how long it took you to do that. Right. Well, this whole culture of, 6-minute increments and did I bill enough for the day was completely out the window right from the start. And I had to figure out what really mattered to the company that employed me, which was now my client. And so, you're kind of on new footing and you're figuring that out. And you realize it's actually about the result that the business wants to achieve. It's not even just about delivering the document or uh, frankly, it's never about protecting against every risk, which is the thing that I think a lot of lawyers come out of law school thinking like, "Oh, I've got to produce this perfect document." And my company was like, "No, no, I need to get signatures on that contract. So I need a thing that people will sign, right?" And it's a very different, much more practical lens on what the client actually wants from the lawyer. They want good counsel to be able to make good decisions, and then they need someone who can help them move forward and execute. And yeah, they want to do that in a cost effective way. And they really don't care how long it took you. Um, they need good information about what's doable and how quickly it can be done and those kinds of things. So that shifted my viewpoint on what mattered as a lawyer really, really quickly. And we were a private equity backed company. We were moving really fast. We were doing a lot of interesting things, doing a lot of M&A work, which I had never done before,
Huh.
and got a baptism by fire in that. Uh, and it was really, really interesting. So spent, I don't know, 7, 8 years in that general counsel role. And then we sold the company and I got the chance to jump the fence within the same company and be an operator. So then I was, helping to run a business unit and thinking about, how to incentivize a sales team and how to deal with issue resolution for customer complaints and, just all of these pieces, pricing and marketing and everything. And I'm the customer of the legal department now. And that's
So,
a whole different seat. So, yeah, the guy who is now in the general counsel seat And I'm over here saying, I need this contract signed. I've got a very different perspective on what needs to happen here than I did even when I was in that general counsel seat. And I thought I had a pretty good handle on it in the GC seat, but it was different as the client. And then when I left that role, kind of came out and had a chance to refresh, just like palate cleanser, right? Get a little sense of like, okay, what do we really want to do here? And when it was time to find my next spot, um, a longtime colleague who had been telling me about my now law partner, Gwen, for years, finally made the introduction. And I sat down with Gwen, who had just started a law practice on her own. And I remember distinctly the day I met her, sitting down to lunch. And I think one of the first things out of my mouth was, I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I'm not lawyering. And, so 10 years later, we've been lawyering together for a decade. And she was undeterred. And I think she understood that what I really meant was, I can't go back to the traditional model. I cannot go back to the point ones and the kind of CYA model of lawyering that had been my, what I saw of what law firms did. So, we sit down and as we kind of unravel the layers of our careers, I realized we've had the same career, just never met. We both were in big law. We both were general counsel. We both were operators. And now we both were trying to figure out, how do we take what is frankly a superpower, right? This legal intuition and your ability to think differently and think critically and find solutions. Like, how do you take that and bring it to bear in a way that serves clients really, really well, frankly, better than what is available on the market, and in a way that clients want to engage with it, and that isn't trying to kill the lawyers who are doing it. And I mean that literally. Like, we all know as lawyers, plenty of people who have addiction problems, mental health issues. The suicide rates are uncalled for. It's not a healthy landscape by and large. And a lot of that is because of the business model and because of the pressure that we have put on lawyers. And we have this concept that we're duty bound to operate in a way that is bad for us and good for everyone else. And we both just fundamentally couldn't accept that concept. So, we're sitting across the table over lunch and kind of talking about what we really think makes sense. And we realized that it was that role as kind of general counsel for us that was a pretty healthy way to practice. And that we could improve on what our experience of being general counsel was, because we'd have these follow-on experiences of being the client of the lawyer and of running a business and thinking about the client's experience differently, but also thinking about running your practice like a business, which I don't know about you, GC, but we really have found that most of the lawyers we talk to, like, there's this look of shock and awe on their face when you remind them the thing that they call a practice is actually a business. And we wanted to bring that to bear in our practice together. And so we formed a new playbook, right? We thought about it differently, and Advos Legal really has been from the start about not billing by the hour, but instead billing based on value. And in our case, the framework that we built was quantifying our work into deliverables. So this deliverables-based model works beautifully in our context and for a lot of other lawyers we know. And it really is mostly memberships where clients are paying a consistent fee month over month, and they've got a corresponding kind of number of deliverables. We quantify that into points, which you can think about like tokens at an arcade. And, you go to an arcade, you buy 10 tokens, and you want to play skee ball 10 times, you can do that. You want to play laser tag, you can do it twice, right? Because the more complex things take more tokens. Same thing with our deliverables. If you want NDAs, those take fewer points than like a purchase agreement for a business. or, complex partnership agreement or those types of things. So it's really a way for us to size the work the client is getting and help them to understand and make good decisions about what they want to do because they can understand what they're going to pay for it. And they can also understand what the value of it is to them and then decide. So we do that on a membership basis mostly. And we also, we'll do some projects and things of that nature, still based on deliverables, but we do not bill by the hour. And our clients understand that what they're paying for is the work product and that the conversations they're having with us, the counsel about the one-off issue that pops up, that layer of comfort and partnership and, kind of trenchmate feeling, that is part of the service, right? That's all wrapped in. So our clients are never afraid to call us and talk about the thing that they didn't want to talk about before, because before they were worried about the clock ticking and they knew that if we started to pull on the thread, it was going to be a long conversation. So they just wouldn't tell you about it. In our context, when they know that there's no clock ticking and that those calls are not going to cost them anything, they'll call and they'll have the fulsome conversation. They'll let us ask the questions. We get to learn about the things that actually matter a lot in our ability to deliver the solution they want, because we need to understand their culture and their context and, what do they really care about? What's their risk tolerance? Are there certain things that are hot buttons for them? And we get to know about their kids and their travel to Indonesia and they're like all the other things that make it fun to work with them. And build, frankly, very aligned, respectful, professional relationships that make the work worthwhile, but also like make it recurring revenue. They make it a relationship where your client wants you to be profitable. You don't feel like you have to hide the fact that you're being profitable because they want you to continue. Like all of these things that are just like, hey, this is great. So our current practice in Advos Legal is me and my law partner, Gwen Griggs, as the two lawyers. We've got a couple of paralegals, one full-time and another actually who's coming on full-time now, who has been part-time. And we are acting as outside general counsel for growth stage companies. And often I would say, our default is we are helping them get and stay deal ready as they navigate operating the business on the day-to-day. So, we are handling day-to-day matters, day-to-day issues, contracting, employee stuff, all those things as they come up, but always with an eye toward, we have seen around the corner. We have seen what happens when you need to sell your business and what enhances the value of your business and what detracts from it. And so we're helping to keep them on the right track for that so that when they get to the point that they're ready to exit or transition the business in some way, they are on great footing and we are ready to help them in a really efficient, cost-effective way because we've been along for the ride and we've organized it well and we've helped them to issue spot. So that's the bulk of our business today.
And you said you all have been doing this for 10 years?
Yeah.
Well,
This year is 10.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations. All right. So that shows that the model actually works and the model is sustainable.
It is. And, it's interesting. We have gotten to the point in the last couple of years where it's growing on its own, right? This thing has gotten legs of its own, and the model is not only sustainable, but it's almost self-sustainable, right? Like I say that almost because we still have to deliver great service to clients.
Mhm.
Right? Our clients and our referral sources are sending us new great clients, and we're not having to go out and hunt. It really is people who worked with us and love the way we work, love that partnership approach, are very enthusiastic about sending us other great clients. And they're also super protective of us. We've had some clients say, like, somebody call me not too long ago and say, listen, we're in the greater Jacksonville, Florida area, at which I tend to say is like the biggest small town you'll ever want to be in. So somebody called and said, listen, it's a small legal community. You'll probably hear that I referred XYZ to some other lawyer. And I want you to know I did it because that guy's a time suck. I don't want him to work with you. You don't want to work with him. And so I sent him to somebody else who will be fine for him. But like, they're protective of us. They understand what we are, how we work, what we're after, and they really want the best for us too. And it's been incredible. Yeah.
All right. And so not only have you achieved this sustainable business model for yourselves, but my understanding is now you are starting to peel back the curtain a little bit and teach other lawyers how they too can have this same type of practices. Is that accurate?
That is. It, it's interesting. We've always been really open about how we practice. And, we had to come up with our model. We looked hard to find something that we could just like, let me implement somebody else's approach. We looked at all the books and all of the software and all the things when we were trying to figure out how we were going to do this, not bill by the hour thing. Right. And we had to build our own. And a lot of people said like, oh, you should be quiet about, like, don't tell other lawyers how you're doing this. And we were like, no, it's just not us. We're going to be pretty open about it. And so we always have, as other lawyers have come in and out of our business, as other lawyers have, been on the other side of a table on a transaction or whatever, we've been pretty open about how we do what we do, like what the method is, how the points work, all of those things. And maybe, 3 or 4 years ago now, gosh, it may have been longer than that. It may have been 5 years. Another lawyer heard about what we were up to and made an intro to a law firm that she knew was trying to figure out membership billing and how do you do a membership in the law. And so we just started talking with that law firm and they had a bunch of questions and we were happy to spend a bunch of time with them and kind of talk them through what we were up to. And at some point, they're on the other side of the state. And at some point they said, we're going to do our quarterly planning retreat and we're going to come to you, do it in your backyard. So if you could join us for that, that'd be great. And we did. And they, at the end of that retreat said, listen, great that you've told us all the things, but we want you to like coach us through it. We want you to help us like implement it in a real way. We've got to take the steps and we need some accountability around it and just some help. Like frankly, we need you to make it happen in our system. So we started working with them, kind of one-off, right? It wasn't necessarily the plan for us to do that. But started working with them to implement the system in their context, in their firm. And in doing that, we're systems people. And so as we started doing that, we started building okay, well, if I need to teach this to another person, how do I do that? What does that look like? And through that, we ended up building a course to help other lawyers figure out how to break up with hourly billing and move on to this points method. So we have the P3 method course. And that was great. And we had some people come through the course. And when they finished the course, they said, I still need more of you. Like, great that I've got the billing model figured out, but there's more to having a practice I love. And there's more that you guys have figured out that I want. And I think for a lot of small and particularly solo law firms, you're so busy delivering what your clients are asking for, right? You're trying to keep the wheels on the machine and be great at the thing that you are great at, which is lawyering. And nobody taught you to be a business person. And there's not the book out there that makes it easy. That's like, here's the manual and just follow these steps. And then it all runs itself. And that's great. You kind of have to either find somebody to coach you through it, or you've got to go like read all the business books and watch all the things and figure it all out yourself. And we spent a decade doing that, right? We've got all the battle scars to prove it. And we figured out the 1,000 ways not to do it. At 10 years looking back, it's easy to be like, yeah, we figured it out. We were brilliant. Like, sure. After we found every way not to do the thing. And so, we've got all those kind of skin knees about it. And why not? Like, make that easy for the next wave of lawyers who want to go down that path. And so as people came through the P3 method course and said, we need more, we developed some additional offerings. And so today that has evolved into our newest offering, which we're really excited about, the Path to Romance. So that is it's a curriculum, right? It's a set of 6 modules that walk you through the different areas of your firm that you've got to think about. What are you going to do in your kind of, what's your vision for your firm? How are you going to set up your business model to match that vision? How are you going to think about your marketing so that you are a magnet for the ideal client? How are you going to leverage systems and resources, right? There's all these pieces of it that you have to think about. And we've kind of distilled it all down into a whole bunch of tools and roadmaps and resources so that you can work through it, but you're already on step 10 when you open the door, right? Like you get into that module and you don't have to think about what is it I have to think about and what are the tools I should be using. You've got all these things here ready for you to make it really easy. So there's this curriculum, but what we found was the curriculum is one thing. What people really needed was the Sherpa, kind of that coach to guide them through it and to say, like, tell me things about your firm, just like we do, frankly, with our legal clients. Like, tell me all the things, and then I can tell you what is the problem where we need to start, which is probably not the thing you came in complaining about. But we can hear that and help point them at, like, this is the thing to do right now. And then after that, pick our head up and pick the next thing. But we can point them at that right piece of content at the right time and help them have the accountability, right? We're meeting with them regularly to say, okay, how are you doing? Did you make the progress you'd hope to make? If not, what do we do to make that easier for you to achieve so that you continue to keep the momentum going and make the progress you want? All of it really geared toward this one fundamental concept, which is we believe that you can have a practice you love that loves you back. And we mean that in terms of time freedom and profit and joy. Like, you should enjoy the practice of law in every way, right? Like it should be fun to do. It should build a fun life for you. You should enjoy the fruits of your labors. And we believe it's not just possible, it's like necessary and a thing that every lawyer should have. So that's the path to promance. When we talk about a promance, it is a practice you love that loves you back. And we have, we've laid that out as best we know how in this curriculum and with the coaching to help people progress through it to get there. And one of the things kind of fun, I don't know, I suspect from the conversations you and I have had, GC, that you're a pretty metrics driven person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
what gets measured gets changed.
Correct. And I always tell people, like, be careful what you measure, because like if you're going to get what you're measuring. So if you're measuring how many hours, you're going to get more hours, right? And that is the default for lawyers, is like, well, did I get the hours? And it's easy to measure revenue. And that's great, except revenue doesn't necessarily mean profit. And profit's the thing that puts, bread on the table. And there's all sorts of other metrics that the industry wants to measure. But we, as we looked around and thought, how do we measure a promance, right? How do I measure, like, does my practice love me back? And we really, we are so committed to the concept of measuring what matters that we wrestled this thing to the ground and built a Promance scorecard. So people can go and take this Promance scorecard. It takes about 5 minutes, um, but it kind of walks you through the different areas of your firm and asks you a handful of questions about each one, and then also asks you about the results your firm is delivering and whether those are matching up to what you want, right? So it's not like we're not saying like, oh, if your firm isn't delivering X dollars per lawyer in profit or whatever, then you're failing. It's not that at all. It's like, how does this match up to what you want from your firm? And you can take that scorecard, and it's a free tool that's out there. GC, I imagine we could put the link in the material. Um, but it's this free tool, and you can take it as often as you want. We like to do it quarterly so that you get kind of benchmarking and you can see where you're making change and what's shifting. But we really do like believe that metric matters. And so if you're watching the metric around your Promance, you're going to start driving toward a higher number there and a practice you really do love.
All right, now I'm gonna force you to teach us
Yeah.
some things, but before we do, let's do a quick story time because you talk about having a practice that loved you back, and most people's ideal version of love is unconditional
Yeah.
during good times and bad times. And unfortunately, I know you've had some less than happy times in your family recently.
Yeah.
Passing of your father. Again, our condolences
Thank
for your loss over the Christmas holiday, and I think your daughter also got hurt significantly. So I know a lot has gone on, and the reason I know it is because you posted about it on LinkedIn. But the angle that you took wasn't just that, uh, obviously retelling your story, but it was that of saying, "Wow, what a profession, group, and community around me that's really helped buttress me during this time of great need." So
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit more about that? How did your business love you back during the time when you needed it the most?
Yeah. I love that you started with story time. As you mentioned, we lost my dad unexpectedly in December, and he was a tremendous storyteller. So much so that, like, at his services, we called for story time. So, yes, this is spot on, GC. Um, December was terrible in a lot of ways, right? December, we lost my dad. My daughter fractured her femur, had emergency service on Christmas surgery on Christmas Eve. Um, it was not an ideal month to put that mildly. As I sat in the beginning of January though, right? Like you come through all of that and you take a little look back, and I looked back at December and I thought, you know, I've had recent conversations with other lawyers who have had a rough stretch of life, and their reflection on it was like this whole thing doesn't work, right? Like the law firm falls down if I'm not here. I can't, if I'm not working, I don't have revenue. I've got to feed my family. And so I have to keep my head down and keep going, when what I really need to be a whole human is to take a minute and to be with my family and to, mourn a loss or figure out a tough situation or whatever it is. Right. And as I looked back at our business, I said, no, actually, we have intentionally architected a business that can weather life and that can support us through life. And, some of the things I saw in our business were an incredible team where we've built a culture that isn't adversarial within the team, but instead is a whole team aligned toward delivering great service for our clients and helping to even out the load when somebody's too heavy or too light, and delivering excellence, not just the ego of I'm great and that person's not as good, but really looking at it and saying we are a team and we deliver for our clients. And having, frankly, the recurring revenue model, right? Memberships where clients are paying regularly on a monthly basis. And it might be that all of their Q4 work happened in November, but they're still paying, in October and December, and that's fine. but also the relationships that we built with clients where we are so tied in to what they're up to and we are in their corner so firmly that when I needed to reach out to a client to say, hey, I've had some unexpected news and I need to be with my family right now, the only answer was absolutely not a problem. We can shift these dates. And like, I don't know what's going on, but thoughts and prayers. Right. And just these incredible client relationships, clients who I would, I would never have asked this of, but we had clients show up at my dad's service. Just crazy, crazy. And it's not like my dad's service was in the same town where we practice. Like, this is nuts. But it just, the community of our team and our clients is one thing. But the other thing I saw is this community of lawyers who we have kind of gathered up in our online community, the Advosphere. The support, the texts, I certainly got some messages in like on LinkedIn and like in the Advosphere from those people, but I got texts and calls from those folks directly. And that level of personal community, right? It's not just like, oh yeah, we're on this like, Facebook group and whatever. It is people who are really in each other's corner. And that, sometimes it's referring business to each other. Sometimes it's helping each other find the right paralegal or the right tech solution for a thing. But it's also somebody's getting divorced and people are like, hey, here's a resource that was helpful to me when I was in that situation. Or someone's got a family member who passes or an injury that's nuts. And people are, offering connections and just reaching out just to say, hey, I'm thinking of you. And I think for a lot of small firm or solo firm lawyers, that community is a big part of what they miss, right? They're lacking the colleague down the hall for a quick question or to commiserate about a thing, or just to say, hey, like I see you and I'm thinking about you. And like what you're walking through is tough. So it's one thing to have a business that loves you back when it's all, butterflies and sunshine. It's a completely other thing to have a business that holds you up and lets you have the time and space you need for the dark days. And, listen, we are all living life and life is going to life, whether we want it to or not. We're going to have tough days. So to build a business pretending that you're not is folly. And, if you are building a business that's going to love you back, I think to your point, it's unconditional, right? And we are that way with each other as a team. But I think also just the community of lawyers who are really looking at this like we are all in this together and we're trying to figure it out and build a better way. That rallying cry has extended pretty deep. It's been really cool.
Yeah, you talk about a community of lawyers. So I'm interested because you said a phrase that we haven't heard earlier in the show, but you talked about the atmosphere. Can
Yeah.
you what is that? Tell the audience about that.
Love to. So the Advosphere is a free but private community that we have built online for
What was that first word?
free. Hey.
Free, open to everyone here, right?
Yeah. So and we'll provide the link for you to join. You can jump in and join. There's no like application or anything. It is fully free. Like get in there. Nobody's going to ask you for a credit card or a commitment to anything. We ask that it's for lawyers only. And the reason for that is like, we want a space where you can talk about the challenges you're having with a client. You can confess that you are struggling with tech or with some legal issue or whatever, and not have this concern that, there's a lot of Facebook groups out there that are great. I always have this back of mind, like, oh, what if I post this to the wrong group, right? What if I meant to post this in the whatever lawyer group and instead it goes to my main page? Like, oh God, this community is completely disconnected from all of that. And it's just a great spot to be able to ask and answer, provide support. We've got a ton of free resources in there that you can access directly. And then it's also where our premium offerings are housed. So from there, you can see the path to Promance, like you can get a little sense of what's there. And you can sign up for those kinds of premium offerings, but you also are welcome to just join and be part of the atmosphere. We want that community to be strong, and vibrant and really thriving. And so would encourage any lawyer, particularly small and solo lawyers, but we've got some big firm lawyers in there as well. We probably have some people who are contemplating making a jump from one to the other. And that's totally fine. But it has been a really cool thing to watch that community grow and build connections and support each other's businesses in really neat ways. And we're adding new content all the time.
All right. You said something that I want to use as a pivot point. You talked about those who are considering moving on to a different
Yeah.
model. So here's your chance for the audience. Get your paper, get your pens. This is going to be the teaching time. So here's your chance to kind of teach. What would you say is the one most important step or the first step that someone needs to think through when they're analyzing whether or not their model is working for them?
Ooh. So I think if you really want to dig into like, is what I'm doing delivering the results I want? First, I would go take the Promance scorecard. It's a good thought starter for what are all the areas where I should be thinking about what's going on in my firm or what results I'm getting. Because often what's on your mind is the last thing that annoyed you or the next thing that you've got to get done instead of the big picture of, oh, I wasn't even thinking about, is this thing delivering the profit I need? I was too tied up in, I can't get to my kid's softball game or whatever, right? Um, so I would say that the Promance scorecard is a great first step. But the the question that you've got to answer for yourself when you're trying to figure out, like, is what I'm doing working? Is what do I really want? So it's an exercise around what am I not happy with in what's happening right now? What do I love about what's happening now? And where do I really want to go? And I will say, um, for a lot of lawyers, we have found that it's really hard to answer the question, what do I want? Because there's something about the lawyer, like the logic of the lawyer mentality that's locked us into what's happening today and what the traditional model says are the only two options. And so we can't really like get out and be a little more creative. And so if we're really in teaching time, I'll give you a fun exercise.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So this is the circle exercise, and we do this in our quarterly strategic planning. So once a quarter, we take everybody who's in our Path to Promance and roundtable offerings and go through this together as the start of our strat planning. But just take a big sheet of paper and draw a circle in the middle. And outside the circle, write down everything you absolutely hate about what's happening in your life right now. So it could be stuff related to your practice. It could be stuff related to life generally, but like all of the negative. And you just like put on some, I don't know, metal, like just angry music and like put it all out there. But you write down all the things that are not great on the outside of the circle. And I'll tell you, I'm a positive thinker and I hate starting with the negative, but there's some magic in it. Write down the negative, and then the next step is inside the circle. And you might divide it sort of half and half, right? So inside the circle, on one half, write down the things that are going well in your practice, the things that you want to keep, like the good that you want to preserve, the stuff you're proud of. And give yourself some time to do that. And then inside the circle, on the other half, look at all the stuff on the outside that is like making you angry and firing you up. And even if you don't believe it's possible, write down the opposite of those things. So, like, we've had people say, billing my time is on the outside, or clients who don't want to pay me, or people I've got to like hound for payment, or nasty opposing counsel, or whatever, right? All of those things. Not seeing my kids in the morning, or not knowing that I'm going to have the cash I need to get through this season, or whatever, right? Any of those things. You just write down the opposite, right? I see my kids every morning. Every lawyer I work with is collegial and delightful. And I don't bill by the hour. I don't track my time. And I know what my revenue and my profit are going to look like for the next year. And I'm happy with those numbers, right? Whatever the things are. But you write them down. And I've literally seen people in tears writing these things down, right? Because they don't believe it's possible. But write them down anyway. Let that page sit for a little bit. Come back to whether it's half an hour or, a day. But come back to it and start really thinking about what shift would be required to make those impossible things true. And I would bet that it's not actually impossible. You actually can build a practice that delivers those things. It may not be something that you can flip a switch and make it happen today or tomorrow, but I would bet that you can start to make some changes that get you there. And that's really what the path to Provence is about, right? It's about knowing that you can have the practice of your dreams, the practice that you love, not just a practice you tolerate or a practice that like gives you just enough, but literally a practice you love that loves you back. And how do we start making progress toward that vision that you have, whatever your vision is for it, right? I'm not going to tell you what your practice that you love looks like, but I will tell you, you can get there. Like, you can build the thing that you love. And it's not as hard as you think. It's just about bite-sized steps. Keep 1% better every day adds up. That is very true. But the accountability to have somebody help you stay on that path when you have clients who need your attention, when you have bills that need to be paid, when you've got a family who wants your time, somebody who can help you progress along that path in an efficient way and let you not have to make all the decisions about how do I get there. Right? Somebody could just say, like, serve it up for you. Here it is. Here's the next step. Let's go do that. Does that sound good to you? Like, let's do it. That's the thing that we've seen that helps people get there faster. So the circle exercise, there you go. Teaching time.
All right, perfect. I certainly appreciate that. We're gonna move on from teaching time to spotlight time. Keep it circular though. And so I'm gonna give you the floor to kind of close out and tell the audience anything in particular that you want them to know.
Thanks so much, GC. First, I'm so grateful for the time and attention that you've given us today, and GC for the platform to be able to kind of share our story and our passion for helping lawyers build a practice they love that loves them back. I and we firmly believe that you should have a practice you love that loves you back. And if you are frustrated by your practice, if you are feeling undervalued or burnt out, if you don't know why you're lawyering anymore or wish you weren't, but you also believe that there's some magic and some superpower in what it is that we do as a profession, we are here for you. And we have got a method to make this easy. I won't say it's a magic wand, right? There's no like bing and you're there. There's work to be done, but it's work you can do. And we can make it easy for you. We can make it bite-sized. And we've got a method, right? This isn't navel gazing or just sort of let's flit around. There is a clear method around getting from where you are today to where you want to be. And we've built the path to help you do that and the support to help you get there in a really, really um, supported, lightweight way. And we're so excited to offer that. So I would say if you're watching this and this is at all interesting or kind of has piqued your curiosity, go take the Advos Pro Promance scorecard. It is on our website. It's advospro.com/promance-scorecard. And we'll stick the link in the video. Go take the scorecard and see how things shape up. And if you're not thrilled with what the number says, let's talk. I'd be I'd be delighted to spend some time talking with anybody who is interested in building a practice they love that loves them back, because I know it's a foreign concept for a lot of lawyers, and we want you to feel great about your next steps in getting there. So take the scorecard and let's chat.
All right. Thank you for that, counselor. It's interesting, and I really appreciate you being here with us today. Not only because of what you shared, right? Not only your personal stories about what you've gone through recently and how your firm in real time and in real life has supported you, but also because this to me demonstrates the true arc of our profession, right? Because me and you are in the exact same spaces. We provide the same similar work. Mine's more focused towards nonprofit clients and small business startups, but the executive coaching side, you know, exactly what you're doing on your side. But still, you've invited me into your community, into the Advosphere. Yes, I am there in the building. I haven't posted. I haven't posted yet.
Get
But in
after it, man.
2025, that's one of my resolutions to be a little more visible, a little more active there. But you welcomed me into your community, and hopefully you feel like I've done the same thing. Because this is what it's about. This is what separates us as lawyers, us as professionals, I think, from any other profession. Our responsibility, not only to each other, but to the public, I think extends in this way, being able to talk to one another, being able to not worry that one person's gain is my law, and not feel that kind of that burden that other professionals seem to, or other jobs seem to have and careers seem to have, that everyone's out to get them. And I know that's not something that we see common within the profession. I know a lot of people do feel that adversarial relationship with opposing counsel, or just with other lawyers in general that are in their same practice area. So I'm just so glad that we can come together and continue working together, and share the same space and different stories. I
And
really appreciate you being here today.
well, grateful for you and for the work you're doing too. I think, the rising tide raises all ships, and we are thrilled to see so many people out trying to make our profession whole and healthy and thriving.
Precisely. All right. Well, thank you again. We're going to drop all of the link. We appreciate all you all who are here today. We appreciate you all being here, whether you're watching on LinkedIn or any of the other social media platforms. We always appreciate you being here. All right.
So,
We're going to let you go, Whitney. Thank you, though.
see ya.
All right. So it's 2025. I'm so excited we made it. And I'm excited for what we can do going forward. This is going to be an interesting year. You're going to, again, see a lot more content from me. I'm really excited to kind of dive in more about some of the research I've been doing throughout the break, specifically on time management and time law. So that reminds me, if you're interested, and I actually believe that Whitney and I met after I think I wrote a bar article. It was published in the Bar Journal, and it was about time management, time law, about time law. And then I gave a presentation to the solo small firm section. Shout out to the solo small firm section. And I believe Whitney was in the building. And thankfully she didn't heckle me, but she reached out and she said, hey, we got a lot in common. And ever since then, we've been talking more and more about how we can make our profession just a little bit better for the practitioners in it. So, speaking of, if you find yourself wanting to do more with your time, if time is your greatest asset, right? And if you're not protecting it, if you're not utilizing it correctly, then you're taking your sword and you're trying to use it as a shield. And I want to help you with that. So scan the QR code. If you're watching on the phone, obviously just go to the link down below, and come talk to me. Let's talk about how you can manage your time a little bit better so you can create greater change. All right, I will be here again the final Friday of February